Was I blown away with the comfort, with the stack, with the energy return? What's going on, everyone? Tonight we're talking about the New Balance SuperComp Trainer version 2. A neutral super trainer from New Balance. This is my first time running in the SuperComp series, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed the versatility of this shoe, the comfort of this shoe, but from what I'm hearing, it's a little different than the original version, which we'll get into in this video. Jumping right into the upper, we have an engineered mesh that is quite structured, especially in the toe box. I would say that the material almost feels a little bit scratchy and not super stretchy. It's almost rigid side, and it's not super forgiving, but at the same time there's plenty of material to kind of create a void for the toes to create adequate splaying. So I didn't have any issues with scrunching of the toes in the toe box, and New Balance is known for their kind of wide-ish, ample toe box for the foot. Taking a look kind of at the middle of the upper here, it's very well ventilated. There's plenty of laser drilled perforations here, and I didn't have any issue with ventilation of the shoe. And then kind of taking a look at the heel of the shoe, I think this is kind of what goes into it being a trainer, being something designed for longish miles and really designed to be durable and hold up well over the long term. Take a look at this booty style heel, and I don't know if you can see through the shoe like I can, but starting here and here, you can kind of see in the inside where my finger is, how it just begins this very, very thick padding, starting from that area all the way back, you know, kind of to the back of the shoe and up into this little Achilles flare here, allowing for a nice divot for that calcaneal protrusion to sit in here. And there was no heel slippage whatsoever in this heel counter, which is not exactly flexible at all. It's quite structured and unaccommodating, meaning it's not going to flex around and move too much like some of the road racing shoes. This is more of that trainer with a little bit of extra goodies inside. Taking a look at the tongue of the shoe, I will say initially a drawback for this shoe for me is the tongue. Yeah, it's a little bit too short. It does not go up and create like a nice little pillow effect, or allow for any kind of manipulation, especially while the shoe is laced up and on. I noticed that it almost, you know, is going to create like a little bit of a rub towards the front of the ankle for me with this tongue here. Now, this material is quite soft here where it does touch my ankle, so it might not be an issue, but then coming right down here, you can see that giant seam going on right there. So it's to be determined whether or not that's going to be an irritation point for me. And then looking at the laterality of the tongue, you'll notice, and I'm noticing this in a couple of other shoes as well, the Boston from Adidas is also doing this too, where you have a little bit more material on that lateral side of the tongue and a little bit less on the medial. I think to kind of create a little bit more of a lockdown tongue, so it's not slipping around on top of the foot and kind of getting stuck in one side or the other side. So good job, New Balance. The tongue itself is pretty well ventilated, and it has a little shoe stay here. And then moving into that inside of the tongue, you can see that it's not what I would consider gusseted. I consider this like just kind of an elastic band that does transfer down into the midsole on either side, creating a nice lay on the top of the foot with no issues. The eyelet chain is nicely spaced. There's plenty of eyelets to choose from. And then check out these cool looking laces, guys. These are some pretty slick laces. Slick being the look, and the texture actually being quite pillowy and comfortable with not a ton of stretch, but I didn't have any issues with the laces of the SC Trainer version 2. Taking a peek to the inside of the shoe, yeah, I see all kinds of daylight coming through. The light here is shining through, lending to a little bit of ventilation for the upper. And pulling out the insert of the SC Trainer version 2, you have a nice, kind of on the thinner side insert with some cool looking little perforations here for maybe a little bit of ventilation. weight savings or water drainage, perspiration drainage, just something to work along with the midsole here. So I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of these holes are. Inside of the shoe, I like to look inside to see kind of what the construction quality overall. There is some text written on top of the midsole material. And I don't know if you guys can see, but there's almost these little holes that have a bit of a mesh screen over the top of where my finger is. And I wonder if this has something to do with just the overall geometry and purpose of the shoe as far as it goes along with the gait cycle. So just some interesting things that I'm noticing inside of the New Balance. And then moving into this midsole, here is a lot of the magic of the SC Trainer version 2. This is going to be your FuelCell foam on the top and the bottom of an Energy Arc carbon fiber plate that you can kind of see right here, boom, smack in the middle here. And we have 40 millimeters of stack in the heel and then 34 in the forefoot for a 6 millimeter drop. That is up to the legal limit for the racing specifications for the heel, and of course that's well within reason for the forefoot. But either way, this is a giant slab, and then you get this nice plate in between, sandwiched between all that. This is awesome. And so just getting my fingers into it, it's got some nice energy return feeling to it, like it's just popping off here. And then, you know, kind of giving the shoe a bit of a twist. It actually is twisting more than I would expect for a carbon fiber plated shoe, but also it's a huge amount of stack, so that could be part of it as well. And then kind of this way. And actually, again, this is quite more bendy than some of the other carbon plated shoes that I have. So interesting stuff. And then the weight of the shoe is 9.7 ounces in a men's size 9. Fantastic. Now looking at the outsole of the shoe. And I think that there's some really cool stuff going on in the outsole of the SC Trainer. And the first thing that I'll point to is this purple little pad here. And unlike the material here for the rubber on either side of the shoe, this purple bit is actually quite hard, and I think it's designed to protect this carbon plate here. You know, the carbon plate, you can kind of see the detailing of it, you know, in the shoe there, and it's very much exposed and very much prominent to let you know that it's there. Even has Energy Arc written right there. It is there to protect that plate. And then kind of looking at this groove here, this is really detailed. And, you know, taking a look just down the midway here, there is some beveling going on to the outer into the midsole all along here. It's not as exaggerated here in the front, but it definitely becomes this very large crevice in the back. And then considering how a person would come down on their forefoot, midfoot, or heel, will all respond differently through the gait cycle of that particular runner. And it's interesting that I felt as a midfoot striker, energy receipt and then energy return in the midfoot here. But it wasn't like a propulsive ride, say like a Vaporfly or an Endorphin Pro. It was not overly rigid either. It was just a little bit of a pop, a little bit of a spring that led to my legs wanting to pick up the pace, but not feeling forced to do anything that it didn't want to do, that I didn't want to do, that my legs didn't want to do. I felt in control of the shoe, not the other way around. And I think that might have been kind of an issue with the previous version, and it's a little bit more tamed in this version here. You know, just taking a look at the heel, all right? And then of course the rubber going on the outsole here. It's just the right amount. It's just the right amount, New Balance. So great job there. I like the way that the pattern is for the rubber here. It's not excessive, it's not too much, it's just the right amount. And I didn't have any issue with the traction whatsoever. Lastly, I probably won't take this down too many dirt roads, but I can definitely see a rock or something getting stuck in there, but maybe not because it's kind of a rounded material. So I don't know. So overall impressions with the New Balance SC Trainer version 2 is I enjoyed it. I think this was a very comfortable shoe. I think that it will serve me well in going long ways and long distances, and really not requiring a ton of energy from me in order to continue through several miles and several weeks of marathon style training and long runs. I think that it definitely shines more so when I'm picking up the pace. Now this isn't specifically a tempo trainer, but I did some tempo efforts in the shoe, and I actually feel that it actually shined a little bit more during some of the faster paces that I was doing with the shoe versus some of the like slow, you know, sloggy type stuff. It just, when I was going those slow paces, it felt kind of clunky and very much, you know, not smooth and not connected, meaning it felt very much, okay, now we're on the front of the foot. Okay, now we're in this part of the shoe. Now we're in this part of the shoe. But whenever I would kind of pick up the pace a little bit, it felt more symbiotic and unified in terms of just, you know, all the technology working all at once versus, you know, separate pieces at different times during the gait cycle. So interesting feel, the SC Trainer here. Was I blown away with the comfort, with the stack, with the energy return? No, I was not. It felt kind of plain vanilla actually. The upper just feels kind of standard. The ride and energy return also felt kind of standard to me. But having said that, it's not a bad thing. I actually really enjoyed the shoe. It's just, you know, when you hear about a shoe in the beginning from outside sources, and then you receive it and you put it on, it's like, you know, I guess that was okay. You know, I guess that was fine. But, you know, it wasn't an injury causing shoe. It wasn't like a concerning shoe. It just feels like kind of in the middle of the road, even with all this cool stuff going on here. So, and the price of the shoe is going to be $180 on Running Warehouse, which they're not exactly giving these shoes away, but this is part of that super trainer category, meaning it's like got some super foam with a plate and designed for longer miles. So, I mean, the average price for these shoes is going to be up there. But if you didn't want to, you know, throw all of your money at a fully race-tuned shoe, this might be an option for you. This isn't specifically tuned for racing, but I feel like with its ability to get up on your toes, especially during some of those tempo efforts, it might be a good option, in-betweener type shoe for a lot of people. So would I buy this shoe again? Actually, if I were to do this again, I would probably consider the Asics Super Blast as well. I would put them side by side, and I would try both of the shoes out before making a solid decision. I went with the New Balance SC Trainer version 2 because I wanted to see kind of what it was all about. And I have the Nova Blast, and I realized that's no Super Blast. I have not run in the Super Blast, so I cannot speak to its overall qualities here, but I think that the two shoes might be in the same category. But a shoe that I do have is Boston 12 here, that has the Light Strike Pro and those energy rods in here. Upper right hand corner, you can see the review of this shoe here. I think that the Boston is a little bit heavier than the SC Trainer. In fact, kind of feeling them side by side, I think that's true. But I almost think that the ride and energy return of the Boston actually was a little bit more magical and a little bit more wow factor than the SC Trainer. In fact, just kind of looking at them side by side, there's a little more something going on in the Boston here. We'll continue to run in the SC Trainer 2 and just kind of mix up the miles and mix up my gait cycle and just kind of get a little something underfoot from New Balance. All right, everyone, that is it for the review of the SC Trainer version 2 from New Balance. If you found any value in this video, if you found it helpful at all, please go ahead and give the video a like. It spreads to other viewers and it lets myself as well as YouTube know that you appreciate it and enjoy the content, and it can go to other like-minded folks. as well. We're gonna have a lot of running style material on the channel here. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, I do put a lot of effort into these videos to bring you the best value. So would really appreciate you jumping on board and coming on for some quality running material. That's it, that's all I have. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.